Hi, welcome to Studio 14. I'm Kim Newcomer with the City of Fort Collins. Well, I'm really excited today because we're sitting in on a CityWorks 101 class, and we're learning all about traffic timing, transit, street maintenance, parking, you name it, anything related to transportation.
This is our Traffic Operations Center, which is actually the heart of our traffic signal system. We've got a total of 28 closed-circuit televisions around the city, which we can pull up and monitor 8 of them at any given time and make changes, uploading and downloading timing from here. We can pull up individual intersections. We can pull up the timing information for an intersection. Again, modify that from here and send new information out to the field to try to account for varying traffic flows as things change. Last year, we just completed a major retiming effort citywide and basically retimed all the signals. If you go on our website on fcgov.com/traffic, there's a link to the final report for that signal timing program. In terms of delay and fuel consumption, we basically reduced costs to motorists, to travelers, by over the course of a year by about $18 million. It costs $300,000 to do the timing upgrade. That's a benefit to cost ratio of about 60-1. We've got a good start, but we've got more to do. I mean, there's still obviously localized inefficiencies that we're still trying to go out and fix.
I think that every citizen who complains about our services should go through this program because I am so impressed with the dedication of the staff and the time they're giving both to this program and to what they do for our community.
This is our handheld computers that our officers use on a daily basis to monitor the downtown area. They go on certain routes and monitor the time that vehicles have been in certain places. So let's go ahead and enter in a license plate. I'll go ahead and just do mine. And then what should I issue myself a ticket for? Handicapped violation. Let's see what that...
I wouldn't do that.
Let's see
like
what...
$100?
It is. It's $100. And I would push save and print, and out will come the citation.
Move your vehicle, you actually have to go at least one full block away before you can park again.
You just have to cross an intersection or turn a corner, and then you're free to park.
But you can't go across the street.
No, that's part of the same block face.
And we are going to have
Good question.
Up there on the monitor in there is a simulation program, a traffic simulation program that we've got going. We input the turning movement volumes, the geometry of the roads, the signal timing parameters. We put that all in there and then it'll simulate that operation. And then the benefit for us is we can try different things. We can try adding lanes, changing signal timing or signal sequencing without actually having to try it out in the street and using real people as guinea pigs.
This is how a citation would be put on the cars. In wet weather, we do like to put the citations in an envelope.
That is so kind of
you. It's for passengers who have disabilities that prevent them from using the fixed route system. We do about 150, 175 rides a day between the two services. It's door-to-door service. They can go anywhere that has an address within our service area, which is sort of a bubble that's 3/4 of a mile outside of where the city buses run. It's a pretty expensive service to provide. A one-way trip is about $25, and the passengers pay $250 unless they have funding by Medicaid.
Our paratransit service went through a major change back in 2007, and what we did was we reduced our service. Our ridership on our paratransit has reduced about 50%. We were providing about 80,000 trips a year. We're now providing 40,000 trips, but what we've seen is ridership on our fixed route service increasing significantly. One of that is because all these vehicles are wheelchair accessible.
We just received 6 of these new 40-foot CNG buses. We have 6 cameras on board. These also do have audio on them.
We do not look at the videos unless there is a reason to. If there's been an incident, say a passenger incident, a vehicle accident, when people know that they're being recorded, their behavior definitely changes, and we've seen that significantly.
This facility that you see out here, we've had a lot of national recognition. It's the only one like it in the United States. The county gets all their product here, the school district gets their product from us. So basically the taxpayer then isn't paying twice, and that's kind of a collaborative effort. Some people keep it out in the open and it causes environmental problems in streams or water.
What we have here is a boot. This is when a vehicle is being immobilized by this scary orange boot right here. What it means is that they either have a certain amount due or they have many citations that are due. What you would have to do is pay our office in cash or certified funds within 72 hours of being booted, and then we can remove that boot. If it doesn't get paid within 72 hours, it would be towed.
There really is a lot of political pressure to put signals in everywhere people want them to help them get out of their neighborhoods. The problem with that is they're good to get out of your neighborhood, but if you have bad signal spacing, it becomes impossible to progress traffic in two directions at the same time. Unfortunately, we've got a lot that are already spaced poorly, which really makes what we've got a challenge.
Ridership annually at the end of 2009 was just over 1.9 million. It's an all-time high for us. This year, we're on pace to break 2 million.
We're really blessed in Fort Collins with the kind of system that we have here. We have a lot of tools to help us try to make the signals work as good as they can. There's another kind of camera in Fort Collins that you'll see at Harmony and Timberline and at Drake and College. The red light cameras, those aren't ours.
Well, summer is here, and by all accounts, that means I think everyone in Fort Collins is out on their bikes. And believe it or not, that is somewhat by design. We actually have a program here at the City of Fort Collins, several in fact, to encourage people to get on those bikes and enjoy the great outdoors. Let me tell you a little bit more about that, and to do so, I have two guests I'd like to introduce. Dave Kemp, who is the bike coordinator here at the City of Fort Collins, and also the FC Bikes program manager.
Correct.
All right, two titles. I got a little nervous. And we all call you DK. It's just easier. So DK, thanks for being here.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
And Matt Wempe. And Matt is a transportation planner and also the manager of the Safe Routes to School program. And we're going to learn a little bit more about that today, too.
Definitely.
Thanks for being here, Matt. All right, you guys, it's summer, finally.
Woo.
Now, I know you guys are a little hardier than I am, and you've been biking year-round.
Have.
And in order to encourage people like me to even bike, let alone do it year-round, we have some programs to encourage that, as well as keep people safe while they're doing it.
Absolutely. You know, encouragement of bike riding is very important. Our funding mechanism, which is a CMAQ grant, Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Federal Grant.
And I always have to give you transportation guys a hard time because we love good acronyms.
Yes.
So thank you for saying that.
Absolutely. So the CMAQ program funds a large portion of my position as well as the FC Bikes program with the intent to get more people on bikes. But included in that is a lot of education and bicycle safety to give bicyclists the knowledge and the confidence about how to ride safely in traffic while creating awareness within the community, motorist awareness for bicyclists as well.
Well, the FC Bikes program is the organizer of our local Bike to Work Day and Bike to Work Week. And I think most people are familiar with that program, but maybe tell us about some of the other things that you're working on, DK, that aren't as maybe widely known.
Sure. I guess I would back up a little bit to talk about the foundation of FC Bikes. It's really built upon three major components, that being social component, the environmental factors, and then also the economics of biking. And with the social element, and that's where we include building neighborhoods based on bicycling and incorporating bicycling to create healthy, vibrant people who live in this town, and then also instituting bike education and safety into the normal behavior of people who live here in town.
And that's where the Safe Routes to School program comes into the mix a little bit. You know, tell us generally what this program's all about.
Yeah, the Safe Routes to School program is a federal program, and we get federal money to work with it. And it really builds on a lot of the work that DK does, but it's focusing specifically on schools in kindergarten through 8th grade. So it's really getting kids off to a good start with a safe walking and biking habits. And it really focuses on the benefits of walking and biking, whether or not it's environmental, it's health for the children, and it's also benefits citywide. It's kind of a stat that the National Center for Safe Routes to School uses, that 20 to 25% of morning traffic is actually people trying to get their kids to school.
Oh, I'd believe it. I mean, even just driving to work regularly, going through school zones and seeing just how much more traffic is around that one spot. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, definitely. And so we're trying really to get people, encouraging them to walk and bike to school. And it's not only the kids, but also doing it with their parents as a family and getting the support for it at the school level. And then we're really focusing right now on making sure that they're doing it properly. So getting those safety habits instilled right now. So we've been working with Bicycle Colorado to teach classes at a number of schools throughout the district here. And we found that those have really had a positive impact on what kids are retaining, not only for themselves, but then they're going home and they're teaching it to their parents and others.
I gotta tell you, so our oldest will be 3 in June, and already she calls me out if I don't put my helmet on. Because I make her wear her helmet, of course, right? And so as soon as I put it on her, she's like,
Yeah.
Mommy, helmet.
And that's exactly what we're finding. So,
I bet.
yeah.
I mean, it's impressive how much they can retain at such an early age. And once kids get into those good habits, it's much easier to continue those as they get older.
Definitely.
You know, it's really interesting about bicycle safety and education and helmet use in the city. And, you know, the city has been very involved in encouraging people to ride bikes for a long time. Since the early 90s, there has been some departments within the city that have encouraged biking. And what we're seeing is that, you know, we really should have been educating them and providing more safety information and normalizing that into our culture many years ago. So right now we are, and to some degree, playing catch up on a lot of this stuff.
Right.
But what I found about Fort Collins residents is that they are very receptive to advice such as bicycle safety, and they really want to know. They just don't know where to start, and they need the tips. And so we're really here to help provide that transition of being just a normal bicyclist in town to being a safe rider.
Right.
And so where Matt is is focusing a lot of his work on the Safe Routes to School program, and the FC Bikes program also works with the Poudre School District too on classroom presentations and whatnot. We also work with CSU, the Colorado State University campus, and the students there. And we've actually built a campus bicycle advisory committee to work on bicycle safety and education-related issues, connectivity, and then also ways to get more people riding their bikes to school, to campus, as opposed to driving.
And you know, it's we could do a whole nother show on this topic, but there's some data now that you guys are armed with about what are the most common types of bike accidents.
That's
and
right.
that data gathered through our traffic department, I'm sure is helpful when you're trying to figure out, you know, what's the message, what's the big challenge that we have to overcome? What are people doing that maybe is causing those accidents more frequently than other behaviors?
Yeah, I'd like to say that, you know, the Traffic Operations Department did a fantastic job of compiling this data from accident reports that were obtained from the police services, and they really went in there and extrapolated the information that we needed to know in terms of the type of accident that occurred, how it happened, what were the conditions, whatnot, and so yes, we are using that data right now to direct the safety and education efforts for this year and beyond. And what's great is now we have that bottom, I guess we have that baseline data, and then we can compare our efforts to this data a year from now to see, have we seen an adjustment, a shift in that type of behavior and or that type of accident? So we're working with data these days, and it really helps seal the deal.
And it really helps us combine work that Poudre School District does as well, because they're in control of all of their school facility sites, and they collect similar data on how their school sites work and where people are walking and biking to and from. So it's kind of taking that holistic view of the neighborhood around schools and general neighborhoods and putting it all together so we can target our efforts.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about safety and education. That's such a huge component. And again, I think we could probably talk the whole program on that. Yeah. But you know, the intent of this FC Bikes program and the way we plan our communities to be bike friendly has greater impacts as well. And you know, you mentioned both environmental and economic. So I think the environmental one is almost self-explanatory, but it's an important one to just touch on quickly.
Absolutely. Yeah. So apart from the social aspects of biking and building livable neighborhoods, there is the environmental effects of biking too, and actually its benefits, the environmental benefits, and creating a better air quality within the city, reducing congestion are some significant ways in which we can better our environment.
And it's something that's easy to do in Fort Collins, and I know Matt, not only in the Safe Routes to School program, but also when we're doing sub-area plans and all the fantastic planning documents that the city works on, which can feel a little overwhelming to someone like me who's not in planning. But when I actually see it on the ground, and you see those bike lanes, and you see the connectivity of trails, and you see how your bike lanes and your bike trails connect to make sure that commuting is a viable option, it's really impressive, and it can be done even if you're occasionally lazy like me and have to wait for the warm weather.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're getting there. You know, we've got a pretty extensive network of trails right now, but it's going to get better within the next 10 to 15 years. I mean, if you're living here in Fort Collins and you plan to stay here, I mean, even in the next couple years, there's a lot of developments that are on the horizon that are going to really expand out the network of trails. The Parks Planning Department does a fantastic job at the master plan for the trails, and then really find the funding to build these trails. The part that we really need to work on these days is really that connection, the connection from the bike lane to the bike trails, and or with multimodal transportation too. You know, finding out the easiest ways, the safest ways to get to a bus stop. And so they call it the last mile right now, and that's one of our focuses right now, is how do we get people that last mile and start to introduce biking and busing and the network with trails and bike lanes and bike routes. But I think that we'll be seeing a lot of improvements and developments over the next couple years here to make that even better.
You know, you mentioned it is a pretty impressive network as it is. Are you guys finding, when you do work with our economic health department, are you finding that businesses and you know, potential employers are actually looking at that as an asset of this community?
Oh yes, I would definitely say so. Matt has a great story from this weekend. We were out on the trails doing a field observation to kind of determine who the bicyclists were out on the trails on Sunday, because it was a beautiful day, 70 degrees, and we were doing some counts with those families and individuals that were wearing helmets, and we found about for adults, there's about a 40-50% percentage, I guess, of people who wear helmets. But it's a little higher in children, about 60 to 70%. But while we were out there, Matt had an interesting story.
Yeah, basically we were riding the trails and we kept coming across a couple, me and my girlfriend, and then we eventually asked them out for drinks because we had met them so much, and we found out that they actually just moved out of here from Iowa, which Iowa City is a great biking community, but they came out here explicitly to be in bike-friendly Fort Collins. It was just really
crazy.
You know, before they knew I worked for the city or anything, so they weren't, you know, making small talk. But it was wonderful to hear that, you know, people are actually out there in the country, you know, seeing Fort Collins as kind of that beacon for biking. So.
And wanting to be a part of that.
Yeah, exactly.
This bicycling lifestyle, this way of life here, is definitely very important to local businesses too. You know, I've heard a story time and again about how you know, some of the major employers here, when they go to recruit employees to their company, one of the things that really draw them to this town is that we're a bicycle-friendly community.
Right.
You know, a gold-level bicycle-friendly community with the League of American Bicyclists. So that bodes well in our town at attracting more people to move to Fort Collins. And
I would think the same is for visiting. I think you probably work well with the Convention and Visitors Bureau. And
yes, we do, absolutely. With the CVB, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, they've been fantastic partners at promoting bicycling. The bike library is an example of that. You know, it works well for the residents here in town, but also it really, you know, is an attraction for those who live in the region and in, you know, within the U.S. And actually, we've got a lot of Europeans who are traveling to the United States right now and come to Fort Collins who are using our bike library bikes, and you know, combine that with the trails, you know, and the scenic views along the river. We have really taken bicycle tourism destination to the next level to attract people to our town to visit.
I think even anecdotally, if you can get my mom on a bike around Fort Collins, that's a challenge in and of itself.
So last time she came to visit,
she was happy to ride around town. She felt totally comfortable. So,
you know, it's funny. We actually keep spare bikes in our garage for when you have visitors, so that we can all go together.
Yeah, that's the Fort Collins lifestyle.
Yeah. So what's ahead for this program? I mean, there's so much success and there's so much invested in strengthening FC bikes and safe routes to school. Sort of what is the next step for you guys in trying to not only increase ridership but also increase safety?
Well, I think one of our first things one of our primary duties at this point is to really create a comprehensive bicycle safety and education plan. And I think, Matt, can you probably talk a little bit more
We
about
can
that?
expand a little bit more about that. That's something we talked kind of how everybody's in the community is starting to learn about bicycle education. The way I liken it in my mind is we're all on the upswing of a bell curve. We're all kind of going up there and realizing the benefits of bicycle education. We've done a great job of getting people out and riding, but it's wanting to focus a little bit more on the safety now. So council has asked staff to write this plan. It's going to be focusing on kind of where we're at, how we actually define what bike education is one of those topics that nationwide it's very policy oriented on how it's defined. But really what we want to have here is kind of an action plan where it's something we can go out and do. And it's not only just a city, but it's looking at all of our advocacy groups around town, working with a newly formed group, the Bicycle and Pedestrian Education Coalition, which is being headed up by the Healthier Communities Coalition.
Okay.
So that's a great group that's really bringing all these people that are interested around town in bike education and pedestrian education and saying, well, how can we pool our efforts, make sure we're not doing the same thing twice. So figuring out kind of where we're at right now, and then where do we want to be as a community? Because I think there is definitely that interest, we're here, but we want to be here. What exactly does that look like? And then how can the city get involved to do some more stuff through FC Bikes and Safe Routes? How can the bike co-op, other groups throughout
Bike Fort
town?
Collins.
Bike Fort Collins, Fort Collins
Cycling Club.
I mean, I think that has to be a great asset to
Yes.
your efforts.
Yeah.
There's a lot of mobilized groups, and
There's a plethora of organizations in town right
Yeah.
now that we coordinate with. And yeah, they've got a lot of volunteer resources and energy and really, I think, augment what the city is doing, or maybe we augment them, but there's a relationship, a symbiotic relationship of being able to do the best we can as a community to implement these changes that we're trying to make. I think.
Definitely.
yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting to watch it happen at the policy. Well, if you're me, it's exciting at the policy level. Probably for most people out there, not so much at the policy level. But what's really cool is how you see it growing, and a lot of that is through some more events. And we don't necessarily put on all of these events, but there's now more competitive cycling out in the community, it seems.
Yeah, and that's really growing too. If I can touch
Yeah.
base on that, this is another really exciting topic, and it deals with the economic aspects of bicycling and tourism destination. But holding major competitive events, bike races in town, is also very good for our local economy. And just recently, a new group has formed called NCCE, the Northern Colorado Cycling Events. And it's composed, or I should say comprised, of several event promoters and organizations that their primary concern focus is bringing major bike events to town to help put Fort Collins on the map.
Right.
As a town in which you go, which is bicycle friendly and holds these types of events. And so, it also has a lot of health benefits for people who live here too, who want to get involved in racing, and nothing like a good workout riding a bike as fast as you can, And
Man, especially if you have Horsetooth nearby.
yeah, exactly. We've got some great hills, and that's a great point. We've got world-class cycling in the area here. We've got some spectacular. We've got hundreds of miles of bike trails, mountain bike trails,
Right.
and then we've got just some fantastic road bike riding too, like Risk Canyon and Horsetooth, and out to Masonville, and then a lot of the roads on the east side too are. Often have beautiful views of the mountains, and so people come to this area to ride their bikes.
Yeah, it's true. I'm just sitting here thinking, I wonder when we get a tour of Colorado, and Tom Danielson.
And that's one of the focuses of this
Lance.
NCCE group is to, start making our way into that direction. We have to put on a variety, actually a series of different events in order to be eligible for that sort of thing. But as we grow our foundation here in terms of supporting competitive events, then we can begin to look at horizon and bringing these larger, more national events to Fort Collins.
I'm sitting here thinking about the safety elements that we were discussing earlier, and how our traffic department has been instrumental in helping us with that baseline data. I'm also wondering how, it's difficult to measure the other elements. It's difficult to measure the environmental impacts of cycling. do we have those numbers of, yep, we've started with this many people choosing to commute, and now we've increased that by 10%. Do we have that?
We do have
those hard numbers?
We do have some data.
Yeah.
Like I said, the FC Bikes program is built on a congestion mitigation air quality grant that measures air quality benefits. So we have to make estimations of what our specific activities are going to do in order to decrease, or I should say increase or improve the air quality in the area. So we start off with a baseline, and then at the end of the year we measure it. But there's other, you could say, some of it's anecdotal, but some of it's data-driven too. The other data-driven information we have is from the American Community Survey from the U.S. Census.
Okay.
That said 7.4% of those that commute to work are bicyclists.
Wow. How does that compare to other communities? Do we know? It sounds like a lot.
It's really good. 1% is a national average.
Oh, wow.
Right. But really, we're a top 10 U.S. biking city. We're up there in terms of the number of people that bike on a regular basis.
Right.
And I know that the Metropolitan Planning Organization is coming out with the household survey that they just conducted last year, and I haven't seen the report yet. I think they're going to be releasing it in May, but it also, from what I've heard, will stand up strongly to supporting a large number of bicyclists on riding their bikes on a daily basis.
And the city is actually developing all of the transportation departments within the Planning, Development, and Transportation Group are developing a program called FC Moves, which is focused on data collection and performance management for our entire transportation system. And so ways we can look at bikes and pedestrians is counting numbers and tracking that. That's going to be a big part of that program as well.
I guess you could say if there's two main things that we're working on for 2010 and beyond is increasing the bicycle education and safety, and then really the data-driven information that's going to help us guide our, and also work as a reporting mechanism for when it comes to additional funding. The Federal the Federal Highways Administration, needs that sort of data in order to appropriate funding for different projects, and then we need it to basically tell our own story of why bicycling is important to this community.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's some talk about expanding these efforts regionally.
Indeed, yes, exactly. I think just in the last in the last year, there has been another push, I think, for creating more regional partnerships.
Right.
Especially in this economic climate, we need to work together. Our communities need to work together on certain things. And Fort Collins is a regional leader when it comes to bicycling and all of our efforts. And so cities like Loveland and Greeley and Wellington and Windsor, can all learn a lot from our best practices, and we can also learn from them too, and find out what their issues are too. So we hope to take bicycling. We're going to take bicycling on a regional level to share resources, and really start to create a bicycle-friendly region, as opposed to just being an island of bicycle-friendly community here.
Sure.
So, and because there's a lot of people who travel in and out of Fort Collins every day.
Absolutely, and not everybody who works here lives here, and vice versa. So.
Yeah. So we should be aware within the region, no matter where we go, to start seeing bicycles everywhere and pedestrians. And so we hope to instill, normalize that behavior within people who drive cars and people who ride bikes and or walking. You still have to be careful.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're just about out of time here today. fcgov.com/fcbikes, correct?
Actually, fcgov.com/bicycling.
Bicycling, that's even easier.
FC Bikes will get you there too.
All right, well, good.
Yeah.
So I didn't lead you astray.
No.
But more information about the program itself, some links to Safe Route to School, as well as event information for people looking to get a little bit more involved. So.
Yes, and Bike to Work Day is June 23rd.
June 23rd, mark your calendars. Best breakfasts in town, for sure. Well, DK and Matt, I thank you guys so much for being here today and talking to us about bicycling, and I won't keep you in the studio any longer and let you get back on your bikes. So.
Excellent.
Thank you again, and thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next time on Studio 14.